Well, I just seem to keep getting more and more short course trucks, desert trucks, trophy trucks. Will this comparison ever happen? Yeah, it is coming. I've got this today, and we also have the Traxxas UDR, and then I think that's going to be it. So today, this is the second last one before we do the big one. Let's make sure it's a good one. This, my friends, is the Arrma Fury 550. This is their short course truck that's based on the same chassis as the Gorgon, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look at it. Now, we did a review of the Gorgon a while ago. And what I like about the Gorgon, aside from the wonderful plush tires, is this composite little underside. And so I am delighted to say, hey, it's the same composite chassis as this fella. There are some small changes you might notice, but they're actually pretty similar. The wheelbase is actually different, interestingly. Same basic design as the Gorgon, but there are obviously some differences. The Gorgon has plastic that comes out on the chassis, whereas this thing stays flat because you want your center of gravity better. That's enough on the Gorgon, except to say this thing gets plenty of use. It's on its second motor at this point. My boys use it a bunch. I've used it a bunch. It's just plain fun. Body's standing up to it. It gets caught, like, banged up quite a lot, but it's hanging in there, and I like this car. It's a good car. And in fact, I've been recommending it to people for their first RC car. If they're after a hobby grade thing, this remains one of my favorites. It's such a good recommendation. Will this thing be a similar recommendation? Well, let's find out. In fact, I will say this thing was such a nice unboxing experience that it made the novelty seeking machine in me go, ooh, I want more new cars. This is fun. Pulling this thing out, it was just a basic box, just a couple of cardboard sleeves to hold the thing in. And I'll show you what else it came with. But just to pull it out and see, hey, it's pretty light, 2.8 kilos with the battery, or 6.2 pounds, I think. There's really not a lot to it, right? But for what it is, oh, it's nice. Plenty of travel. It's just nice and flat. And the other nice thing is there are no body clips on the top. It's the same attachment as the Gorgon, so it slides underneath. But you won't need to take the body off almost ever because the battery lives under here, again, just like in the Gorgon. So for me, that's a winner. Under the Gorgon, I made an adapter that had the EC3 at one end and just an XT60 at the other. Wasn't hard to make. I'm sure you can buy them too, but that's what I was running under mine. And it takes this standard, 5-ish amp brick. Comes with a 3300 milliamp hour hump pack, so it's the higher voltage, the 8.4 volt nickel metal hydride. This still doesn't have the punch of a LiPo, but it has the same voltage as a LiPo, and so your performance between this and, say, a LiPo battery is going to actually be fairly similar. This is still going to be better, but for out of the box, for what it comes with, that's great. Traxxas have been including hump packs with their base model cars for years, and it's actually a really nice alternative. You don't have the safety concerns that you do with LiPo, and if you use the included charger, yeah, it's pretty good. Same radio system as the Gorgon, by the way. The SLT2 takes 4 AA batteries and has some really basic controls. It's literally just dual rate and trim, so you can adjust your steering to make sure it's straight, and you can adjust what its maximum throw is. That's it, but that's enough. Oh no, you do have a throttle limit, 50, 75, 100, and you've got servo reverse if you swap the servo for whatever reason and you need to change it. It's good enough that it'll be fine for this system as it is. USB-C cable, nice little ribbon one, to go with the S120 charger. Now, I hadn't met one of these before until I got the Gorgon. USB-C in, right? So you can use it with obviously your wall adapter, but you can also use it with those portable battery packs, and that's actually really nice to have when you're out and about. And it has the EC3, which has its own built-in balance port. That's what the extra wire is there. Not that it needs it on this kind of battery, but it's really useful for the LiPos, for a 2S LiPo, but you still have a 2S and 3S balance port here. So this is a standard LiPo and nickel metal hydride charger. It does do lithium ion, lithium HV, lithium ferrous, so the LAFE. This is a really capable little thing. The only thing that would make it like a straightaway recommendation to everyone for a basic charger would be if they had a little button that said STO for storage, so that you could do a storage charge on it, and that will make this the best charger on the market. Because it doesn't do storage charge, doesn't matter for these, but it does matter for LiPos if you want them to last. You've got to kind of guess. You want to see how long it takes to charge the battery and then just charge it for like a third of the usual time it takes. Because you want your LiPos stored at about half voltage. Good enough, right? I wish this had a storage feature function, but the fact that they include this and this in the pack for I think $169 US, it's a pretty good deal. One of the things I do in the comparison when we do it for the short course trucks is going to be to look for the best value. And given how much I like the Gorgon already, I can already tell you this is probably going to be a contender. We've got a few others to consider. The same set of tools that you get with the other one, including extra spaces for your preload if you want to change it. Now, of course, your preload on this sucker is fairly soft. It's a light car, there's no battery in it right now, but I think it's actually going to be about right. And crucially, it still bottoms out, which you want. You don't want it to be able to just go like that and max out the suspension, or else the piston's hitting the inside of the cylinder, which can blow your seals eventually. So that it can do that on a landing is preferable. Not sure how I feel about all these AA's being included. It's great, except for the environment. Use nickel metal hydride rechargeables if you can. Rechargers are really cheap these days, and my entire channel runs on... in fact, I'll take this opportunity to throw a marketing thing in, why not? I use Panasonic Eneloop Pro AA's. These are my favorite AA's. I used to use the Hobby King AA's back when the low self-discharge Hobby King ones, but although they're quite good, I think these are better. They're Eneloop Pro. And I also took a while to find a nice charger that gives me optional current rating, has different input options, and also can charge just a single battery or 3. You know those radios that just take 3? That's a pain, right? I'll put a link in the description for a good charger that's not going to break the bank, and also these Eneloop Pros. They're both Amazon friendly links. If you're considering going to rechargeables, let me tell you, I think it is the way to go. You have 2 sets, that way when your first one's dead, you can stick your second set in. These go back on charge, and they're good for like 2,500 charge-discharge cycles. For me, even though I use them a lot here, they still give me a good few years of use. And it beats the environmental impact of these guys, and especially as you start to get more models, having something like this, you can just change your battery through or get another set of them and just keep them so that you've always got one set spare and full like I have here. It's a good way to go. The same little tool setup, including a multi-wrench, which looks really cool. And this I have not seen before. This I'm actually excited about. That is really nice. Now they're flat, they're not ball end, but isn't it cool to see included tools? Okay, so your 1.5mm is in the bag. It is 2mm and it's a 2.5mm. So there's a full toolkit included with this car. Quick start guide. How to charge the battery and what the LEDs mean. This smart little thing can charge at a high speed and a low speed, and it tells you the difference with colors. How to trim your steering, how to put the battery in. Pretty straightforward. There you go, good to go, and basic maintenance. I don't know why it's not in the original manual, but hey, there you go. So, nice exploded parts diagram with part labels. That's good for replacing things, because you may break stuff. This is how to change the pinion. Brilliant. So, and look, I've done it myself without instructions. It's not exactly complicated, but I've changed my Gorgon's motor because we burnt out the other one on long grass, because running in long grass is bad for almost any car unless its wheels are like monster truck size. And even then, it's a harder day out. There's more friction, so the motor has to work hard. There's more heat, and eventually you'll kill it. It tells you mesh and spacing. That's really cool. Now, we don't really need to pull this cover off usually. Let me see. Because of this body being so big, it's harder to align the things. Oh, this is cool. This is actually an improvement over the Gorgon setup. That's a complex little piece of metal with a pull tab on it. That's it. It's literally it. That's how it locks and unlocks. What an improvement that is. There's a fan mounting point that can be removed and replaced with a fan. It's an all-in-one Spectrum 40 amp ESC and receiver. The bind plug will be there if you want to bind this thing with an existing other radio. I won't, because I keep it separate from my channel, but if I wasn't doing RC-TNT and I already had another Spectrum radio and I've got like 30 of them, yeah, you'd bind it with the nicest one you've got. That's what that little bind plug is for. So that's cool. It's actually a 3-channel all-in-one receiver with an external receiver port as well. So if you have a different radio system that you'd prefer to use with this car, but you still want to use the ESC and motor it came with, you can do that. You just plug in your external receiver, double-sided tape it somewhere here on the car, and there you go. You can plug the receiver into that and it'll function just as a regular ESC without the radio system. They didn't have to do that. That's actually really thoughtful. If you want to go to a brushless system, you'll need a different receiver anyway, and so this thing's coming out. So really the only time you're going to use that receiver port is if you want to use your own existing nicer radio set rather than this thing, and it lets you do it. I really like that. Motor can be replaced. Again, the Gorgon already has been replaced, and I actually stuck in a spare Traxxas, similar turn, similar size thing. Brush motors can be swapped for whatever. All right, the motor is ARA 390307. That's a 14-turn 550, and I replaced it in the Gorgon with a 12-turn from a Traxxas something. I've got a drawer full of brush motors. It's a very attractive polycarbonate body rather than being the PVC body of the Gorgon, which is a great move. Thank you, Arrma. And it's got protection for the tires, which are going to hit the body. They're applied front and back. Short course trucks tend to eat this part of the body in particular, because when the suspension's compressed, these tires, or when they balloon, these tires are hitting the inside of the body. So these things tend to take quite a beating. And the other place that these break is along here and also here. So it's nice to see it's well protected, although the bumper is out the front and there is a compression system designed in this bumper. It's extremely stiff. The rear is probably more flexible, but it's still very stiff. This is some of the stiffest impact protection on any car. Okay, that's better. So this is kind of what I was expecting on the bumpers. Softer plastic, right? So the Nerf, or the side impact protection bars, are softer. These front and rears, man, they are pretty stiff. It's a plastic geared servo, which might sound bad, but remember, these are little tiny wheels. It's not, they're not driven wheels either. They're just, it's a rear wheel drive. So they're not particularly heavy. The servo's probably up to it, honestly. We've got nice geared, nice glued tires. They're actually very well supported inside too. They've got foams. They are vented. They're on attractive plastic wheels. I don't really care about brand names or whatever it is they're calling them, but I can tell you it looks and feels nice. The suspension has little guards front and rear as well. Now there's precious little in the way of adjustment for your suspension apart from the preload and also changing the fluid, the fluid in there, but I would argue that for a car like this, it's on the budget end of cars, just drive the thing. The only thing you're really going to change is going to be the servo when you kill it and the motor when you kill it. Otherwise this thing's going to keep on trucking. The body will eventually die with enough abuse, but it's pretty well protected. So, enough talk, let's drive this thing, hey? First, let's just get a quick feel of it for straight line. That's maximum speed, so this is not going to set the world on fire. We are on 100% throttle. 50% looks like this. That's max. So that's actually quite good. Okay, before we hit the track, let's have a look at what it's like. We're back at 100%. Grass could be shorter, but it's not too bad. Now, this is not a fast car. That's okay. But I'm at full speed here, and so the nice thing about this car having metal gears is that people are going to want to put brushless in it, I imagine, as their first car, because the speed is actually quite underwhelming in this condition, in this situation. I think where we might be most at home here is going to be on the little track we've got. This is going to be fun for kids, but it is certainly lacking the snapping punch of even other brushed short course trucks. Look at the HPI Jumpshot for an example of that. That was another rear-wheel drive brushed car, and it did have a little bit more go than this. Although it's a 14-turn motor, so the battery life should be good. Right, let's try the track. Okay, let's see what we think of it on the track, which is in need of maintenance, but it's largely free of rocks and sticks. Now I'm at full speed a lot of the time here, including that whole corner and now. Glides nicely. Okay, the tires for a start on clay are actually quite good. It's got nice snappy quick steering, which is going to take some practice for newcomers or old hands who are a bit unco like me. No, it's fine. Even on a slow, inverted commas, car like this car will reward smooth driving. And I'm actually not mashing the throttle most of the time. I just did it at the start to get a feel. So right now, I'm actually not on full, and I'm coming off into the corner and accelerating out of the corner. It's a happy little car, but I haven't seen any, I haven't watched any reviews on this. I'm coming in brand new, not knowing anything. But I will say, I think people are going to be saying it's probably one of the slower brushed models out there. I think it's going to actually reward smooth driving regardless. And I know from my experience of riding small capacity motorcycles on some big events, a smooth, slow vehicle can be faster than a badly ridden fast vehicle or a badly driven fast vehicle. It's not super light for what it is. It's absolutely not super snappy or fast. Again, we're on nickel metal hydride, not LiPo. Would I like more speed? Sure. But let me tell you a few things that are going to be good about this thing. For a start, it's still fast enough to be fun. It's fast enough to get itself in trouble. It crashes well, lands nicely. It is easy to control. It's quiet. Now, the 14-turn motor, as opposed to the 12 or 11 turns you get on other models, is going to give you a much longer run time from the same battery. It's also not going to get as hot. You're not going to cook the motor as rapidly. The servo's not going to have to work as hard. All of these things together mean you're going to have a model that's going to last longer and be fun to drive for longer. This is probably not a great direction for this jump. I've got an excavator coming where we're going to fix this track, and I'll include you guys in the video on that. For now, what do I think of this thing? Well, it's easy to drive. Now that's the fault of the jump, not the car. I like this little car. I like its handling. I wish it had more speed. Now, a big opinion, I'd go off a tooth or two, will probably give you the speed, but I think this motor is going to struggle. Your first step, if you get this and you want more speed, is to stick a LiPo in there. It'll only take 2S, it won't take 3S, that's okay. 2S will give you more snap in the acceleration. After that, you could consider going to an 11 or 12 tooth 550 motor. That's going to reward you with more speed and worse battery life, but if you're already using like a 5 amp LiPo brick, I think that'll be the way to go. They're the two things I'd do on this car. Leave the tires, they grip a lot. Servo is going to be sufficient, I think. Even the body probably doesn't need a lot of protection. It's a happy little thing. This versus others, well, you'll have to wait for my comparison, but I will say, check out the HPI the HPI Jumpshot V2 that I did not too long ago. I also did the Pro2 from Associated. That's a recent brushed rear-wheel drive short course track. Short wheelbase, that one. I haven't got any Traxxas to show you, and I probably won't just because the price in Australia is prohibitive. It's just so expensive. But this is not a bad car out of the box. Right here. Let's finish up. Okay, so what's the verdict on this thing? Well, we've had a lot of rain recently and it's kept itself pretty clear. The nice thing about being waterproof is it's going to be easy to clean this out. Pop the body off and hose that thing down. Wipe off the rest of it. Don't put pressure into any of the moving bits. You know, standard common sense stuff. Does it take the bangs? Yes, it does. Does it take the heavy landings? Yes, it does. This is helped by the fact that it's not fast. If you had one weakness to say about this car is that it's not a snappy performer. It's definitely not a fast car. But depending on who you're buying this for, that might be a pro rather than a con. I had a couple of kids here over the holidays just playing with my boyo, and I let them drive various cars that I had here. There was nothing I had here that was controllable for them that was brushless. This is the perfect loaner. This and the Gorgon together, let them swap and muck around and take turns, they'll have a hoot, truly. I gave one kid a brushless car and I gave the other kid a Gorgon at one point. The Gorgon's brushed, they both had the same amount of fun, true story. I gave them different short course trucks and whatnot, but they were a bit much for these kids to handle. They're, you know, pre-teen. This is going to be too slow for a seasoned driver, but don't write it off. It's got a great drivetrain in it. You can put brushless in it. You can even just put a lower turn motor in there, combined with LiPo and the same gearing. You're going to have a great time. It's certainly going to be durable, I can tell you that, especially if you don't get it more than about 20% faster than what it is out of the box. It'll be a rewarding car to own. It's going to look nice for a long time, partly because of the speed, partly because of the protection. It's actually very well protected. I like the car. The value is actually pretty good. This goes on my list of cars to recommend to people who are after a first car. It's really not bad, and it's going to take the upgrades easily. I like it. Thanks again to my channel members. Thank you so much, all of you, for watching. I really appreciate you guys watching. Throw me a like if this was useful to you. Look out for my Traxxas UDR review coming very soon. It's ready to go here. We just need to get another nice day for it. Then after that, finally, we're going to do this roundup, and I'm going to tell you what my thoughts are on all these different cars, who should buy what their strengths and weaknesses are, and I'll try and make it a tight little package so it's something useful. I hope this one was useful too. Thanks again for hanging around. I'll catch you next time on RC-TNT. Cheers.